Welcome to week 7 of Qual 1. This week we're going to be discussing methods. What will you actually do? For this week, Christina Slusser and myself had the pleasure of helping teach the class all about methods, and we're really looking forward to it. Christina has a great activity that she modified from the Maxwell book that you're going to get a chance to work on in Blackboard. And myself, we have a great PowerPoint for you to check out, along with hopefully a skit segment called Dr. Maxwell Says that I think you'll enjoy. The thing I want to do, though, before we begin is to thank those folks that helped produce this, and I want to thank Alicia Boards for helping provide the set for the skit, and I also want to thank Scott Gibbons for his starring role in Dr. Maxwell Says. Without further ado, let's get started. Dr. Maxwell breaks methods down into 4 parts. You have negotiating research relationships, site and participant selection, decisions about data collection, and then decisions about data analysis. And there's a couple great pictures of Dr. Maxwell. So let's first of all talk about negotiating research relationships. It's important to remember that we are the research instruments, and it becomes key to look at how we negotiate the relationships with our respondents. It involves more than just rapport, and takes a lot of hard work, just like any relationship in your life does. If you're going to make it work, it takes hard work. Here's what Dr. Maxwell has to say. Thus, the relationship you have with any participant in your study is a complex and changing entity. In qualitative studies, the researcher is the instrument of the research, and the research relationships are the means by which things get done. Research gets done. That's why it's so important to maintain a working research relationship. And that's why it's essential also, in order to maintain an effective relationship, that we are always examining relationships from both sides, that of researchers' views of the respondents, and respondents' responders' reviews of the researcher. And yet, not every culture is going to react to outsiders in the same way. And how are we going to negotiate those relationships? Maxwell talks about the importance of taking memos to help guide us and to come up with solutions to this, and I think that's a great idea. We now are going to, speaking of Dr. Maxwell, we're going to look at and start his segment. In this, Dr. Maxwell is going to be giving us some advice on what not to do in a qualitative research methods part. So let's listen to what Dr. Maxwell says not to do.
Dr. Maxwell says, not building a working relationship.
Let's talk about Maxwell's second part of methods now, and that is site and participant selection. Unlike in quantitative studies, we're not going to be using random or convenience sampling. Instead, we're going to be using purposeful selection. So what does that look like? What are the goals? Maxwell gives us 5 different things with that. Number 1, achieving representativeness or typicality of setting, individuals or activities selected. So trying to get the correct range of people or things involved with what you're studying. Capturing the heterogeneity in the population, so don't just choose all men or all women, all folks of one race, all millennials for your study. 3, select individuals deliberately to test theories. So maybe you want to see what are some of the differences in the way people respond to your research questions based upon their age. So make sure you get some folks that are young and some folks that are older and in between. 4, establish particular comparisons between individuals or settings. So maybe you want to see how someone that is Latino responds versus someone that is African American or someone that's Caucasian. So make sure you have those groups represented. 5, select those you can establish the most productive relationships with, because you're likely to get the richest data from those folks. And let's see what Dr. Maxwell says not to do.
Dr. Maxwell says not examining participants' assumptions about you as the research tool.
Dr. Maxwell's third area that he talks about with methods deals with decisions about data collection. And when we're discussing that, we're talking, one of the things to consider is that your research questions aren't always going to convert to data collection questions. Something you'll see with Christina's exercise you'll be working on. It's important to be very specific also on the questions that activate episodic memory. What we're talking about by episodic memory are, being specific, not just giving an overview of a situation, but we want to know the how something happens, and that's the process, and that's very important to get those details, and that's what we're talking about by episodic memory. Ask specific questions to get that, and then it's also important to pilot test your questions and watch. And another concern is you got to watch imposing Anglo-American norms with your questions, and that part of that goes back to examining assumptions that you might have, and vice versa with your participants, and then ask genuine, not contrived questions. Here's what Dr. Maxwell has to say.
Dr. Maxwell says not doing a pilot study.
Let's continue our discussion about the third part of Maxwell's methods, and that is decisions about data collection. Interestingly, Maxwell also suggests that to think about a mixed methods study, and talks about the advantages of triangulation, bringing data collections from other sources or other types of ways, and hopefully to build a stronger conclusion with your study. And then also talks about it. Not only could it help with a greater understanding, but could offer possible divergent perspectives on what you're studying. Let's see what Dr. Maxwell says to avoid.
Dr. Maxwell says overgeneralized questions lead to episodic memory not being triggered.
The fourth part that Maxwell discusses for methods deals with decisions about data analysis. And this is key, that your analysis should inform your design, and recommends that data collection and analysis that they happen simultaneously, just in order to aid with the iterative process that is so much a part of qualitative methods. Let's see what Dr. Maxwell.
Dr. Maxwell says research questions and methods are fixed.
Let's take a look at what Maxwell says and continues to say about data analysis here. So looking at the steps, number one, read your data. Number two, start categorizing. You could have some different options here. Memos can help you analyze and help stimulate insights. You can organize, categorize through organizational categorizing, creating just broad order categories. Substantive, being very descriptive with your categories, and theoretical, some abstract general themes, and what have you. Put it all together, connect those strategies, contiguity, and create some overall themes. And remember, even Dr. Maxwell isn't perfect. It's qualitative research. It's an iterative process. And let's look at Dr. Maxwell demonstrating that.
Dr. Maxwell says, not examining... Oh, stop, I forgot it already.
Finally, let's look at some tips for your qualitative journey. Maxwell was into hiking, and I thought outdoorsman. Thought you guys would appreciate that picture there. So software helps, but it's important to keep your critical perspective. And this is one of the things I think I'm going to take away from this class. I love this quote by Brian Pfaffenberger. Technology is like colonial power. It tells you that it is working in your best interests, and all the while it is functioning insidiously to dim your critical perception of the world around you. You will remain its victim so long as you fail to conceptualize adequately what it's up to. In other words, think for yourself. Infer. You are a valuable resource. Another tip, your methods of research questions should fit together. And if not, you need to iterate, revise one or the other. Other concerns to look at, feasibility of the access, feasibility of data collection, relationships with participants can't be emphasized enough. And then ethics, taking that into account too. And watch out for key informant bias, where you are drawing too much on one or two people to reach your conclusions. And I think Dr. Maxwell has something else to mention to avoid here for us.
Dr. Maxwell says, key informant bias.
Let's do this. Good luck. Some final words from Dr. Maxwell on what to avoid.
Dr. Maxwell says, letting computer do all the thinking instead of maintaining your critical perspective.
Thank you, Dr. Maxwell, for your time.